Awesome. Welcome to the next installment of ChatFunnels Masterclass. Today, we're going to be talking about a virtual event planner guide to build better pipeline within ChatFunnels. So, excuse me. Um, so the main focus of this is going to be able to convert more registrants to opportunities by providing an effortless experience for your event attendees. My name is Sterling, and I am the head of client success here at ChatFunnels. Super excited to be here. Our agenda for today is going to be roughly 15 to 20 minutes on our topic, and then about 10 on Q&A. So we're just going to go. She graduated with honors from BYU-I in financial economics. His professional interests include data science, web analytics, all things automation. When Tam is not working, he's our main marketing guru. He's amazing, but he is usually over Subaru Street Racer or some snow slopes. You know what? Just a real story. Okay, but for friends, man, with us, and Pete earned his degree while serving in the military. Thank you, Pete, for your service. He was in law enforcement. He has been in the financial industry, construction management, on the tech industry. So he's been around, and we're super excited to have Pete in with us. When Pete isn't working, he really spends a lot of time with his kids, ice skating, doing all kinds of stuff, and that's so amazing. And he's also got a side project too that's working on his basement remodel. Hopefully, he gets that finished sometime this decade. So
Crossing
we're
my
really excited to
fingers.
have both. That's right. That's right. A little bit of tidbit about ChatFunnels. If you're new, we are a internet marketing engagement solution, and mission is to help companies intelligently automate, grow, and close sales pipeline. We solve a lot of problems like marketing typically spends a lot of resources to get events registered on websites, visitors, but often there's zero visibility into how this actually happens and how people come to the website. So we help identify who is coming to the website, how they integrated and into the website with some of that personalizing their experience, right? So we have a RevTech Summit coming up soon. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that today and how we've been preparing for that using our ChatFunnels system. So Pete, let's start with you and how it actually works on that sales side.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely. So as we're talking a little bit more about the summit, I'll cover a little bit of more of why we do it. Why do we do summits? Whether you've come here, you've held summits before, maybe they've been virtual, maybe in person, or if it's just some webinars or master classes, what have you, just new getting into it. The why behind it's real important. And the big thing, like 95% of it should be giving, right? It's about giving into the industry that you serve, the professionals that you work with, the clients that you have. You want to be able to give them quality content so they can use that to grow and develop their business, right? So big thing is to give. And what are you doing when you give that? Well, you're going to be improving your company's reputation in the industry. You're building relationships to be able to collaborate with those industry players and potential partners. You're also going to be able to create a great suite of content, right? So a content suite to be able to give you some direction in how you're going based on how that summit went, what were the interests, what was spoken on, what was the highlights of it. Building a community, and then finally you're going to see some marketing and sales leads coming from it. So that's some of the why behind it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'll share my screen with you, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at how we're currently using the bot from the outside to register for our summit, for the RevTech Summit. So you can watch my screen or follow along with me at revtechsummit.com. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so as that comes up here, what you're seeing is again, the RevTech Summit. You can see we have some explanation describing what will be spoken on. We put our keynote speakers here and then the other speakers with their links and information. So this is kind of a good setup. You can take a look at that. I think this is our 6th or 7th summit we've put together. Quite a hefty number of participants on a regular basis. So what we found and what we're doing is something right? So it's good to look at. Now, if somebody comes in here, what we're talking about is how do we get those registrants? How do we use in ChatFunnels to do that? Well, it can be based on behavior and some criterion audiences. So you can have a bot pop up here automatically and say, hey, let's register at some point based on how they're scrolling or how long they've been on the page. Or you can do some call to actions, right? A button to click or to click on the bot itself. So in this case, I'll click on register, and we're asking for some information. Maybe what you ask is going to be different. But for us, we ask for name, email, and phone number. So here, I'll go ahead and just give my name. And then we get some we get some communication back and forth, right? It understands, okay, got your full name. That goes through the tagging, the back end that Tanner will cover, and how that gets into the CRM and tagged appropriately. Gets an email address from me, so I'll go ahead and give that. And then after that, it's going to ask me for a phone number. All right. So sometimes you get the phone number, sometimes they don't. Just depends on what value they're seeing that they get into it. And that's something real important to remember as you go through these bots. It can't all be just be you getting. You have to give and show some promises. Say, hey, if you do this, you will get X, Y, and Z. So let me go ahead and enter that. So then you give your phone number, and in this case, the bot's going to react depending upon who I am, my industry, my past behaviors, and so forth, and give me some more info. So in this case, we see, okay, awesome. You'll receive a confirmation email shortly. Check your spam, right? We've seen some questions come across that. So we try to mitigate those questions, make it easier flow. And now we show here that, hey, this person qualifies based on who I am, my industry, and so forth. They qualify for us to offer a strategy consultation. And then we have a calendar drop here. Now, I just want to walk through this real quick. Somebody sees value in this and like, yeah, sure, I'd love to be able to do that. They can easily schedule a time, schedule a meeting. And this is where some of that personalization and AI comes into play. Like, hey, they already entered their email here. So we're just going to confirm with them, hey, this is where you want us to send this meeting book, correct? Yes, that is. And if it's not, I can put in a different one. And then we offer and say, hey, would you like a text reminder? And so maybe I say, yeah, go ahead, let's do that. But then when I come in here and I see, oh, you know what, that wasn't my cell phone, that was my desk phone. Let me go ahead and update that. I can put in my new phone number and make sure that I get my text message reminder. So that's a little bit about what that looks like on that end. Now, real quick, I'm going to talk about the retargeting aspect. Okay, so now let's assume I've registered. I automatically got an email saying, hey, you've been set, you're registered for the summit. Here's your confirmation and so forth. Well, I come back a couple weeks later because I've signed up for so many things. It's been some time. I can't remember if I did or hadn't yet. And we notice here it says, hey, welcome back. You're already registered for the event, right? So I click here and say, okay, how else can I help you? Now, this might look different for you. Here, you might want to ask, have an FAQ or common questions, or maybe like we have awardees for 4 different topics, and you can see that on our award page if you're interested in what those are. But here they can vote, they can nominate someone for an award, they can participate in a survey that we're doing, or they can talk to one of our agents if they have a question. Now, all this stuff is geared upon conditional branching and segments. And to make this really and truly work, we need to understand who has come to the website, what their behaviors have been, so we can get them the proper messaging. So if there's somebody in pipeline right now, if they talk to a human and they already have an account executive they're working with, we'd rather route in that account executive rather than a BDR, somebody who's not familiar with them, for example. Just many ways to do it, but some ways that we create that personalization, that intelligence in matching their journey, not forcing them down a funnel that we say we want them to do. It's more matching their behavior based on who they are. So that is how we're doing that on the front end. Tanner, I think you're going to cover a little bit more about under the hood and the back end of how this works.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So first off, I kind of just wanted to explain how, I guess, why and how ChatFunnels is kind of executes this. One of the big things, and Pete kind of talked about like qualification and segmentation and making sure we give people personalized experiences. So not only if someone comes and registers and then comes in again and we already know they're registered, like that's great, right? But I mean that seems like pretty basic functionality. But we can also identify people who have never been to the site and make those decisions based off that information. So even if they haven't given us any contact information, we can receive some like account level, like company, some other company demographic stuff about who they are. And we can use that information to make decisions. We won't have like contact information or anything, but we will have some like company and account attributes that we can use to make decisions and branch people any which way. So I'm going to just share. I'm kind of just going to go through the behind the scenes kind of process of how we build this out. Let me share my screen real quick.
And I think it's good to note too, Tanner, that this is just using our base system that we have for any of our clients to use this. So that's good to note too. Thank you.
Yeah, anything, pretty much everything involved here to some degree, at some volume is available in the $400 a month Teams plan, our basic plan. Even the a certain allotment of visitor identifications, stuff like that. So these conditional branching. So this is the bot builder. This is the ChatFunnels bot builder. Something pretty unique to our bot builder compared to some other like conversational marketing and chatbot tools is that it's drag and drop. It's free form. So rather than being subjected to having this like very vertically integrated, one block after the other, you can kind of spread it out horizontally and kind of organize yourself better and organize yourself however way you want to. It just gives you a lot of flexibility. So any of these nodes can just be kind of rearranged any which way. So the first thing we see, you saw that when Pete went back through the bot, it recognized he was already registered and it took him over into this flow over here. And I'm not going to go into crazy detail about every one of these things, but basically throughout this entire bot sequence, we have a bunch of different branchings to better A, qualify people for sales, and B, just make it a more seamless, less rigid experience for people who have engaged before. So let's just say that they're not registered and we don't have their email or phone number. They'll come right through this section. We'll just ask for their first and last name, their email, and their phone number. You can set up different criteria and qualification for these. Like if you don't want to receive personal, you only want to receive business emails, or you want to exclude certain domains, you can do that. And then if they enter one of those, as a fallback, you can be like, hey, try something else. So we have the email and phone capture there. Once they put in all their information, it'll give them confirmation that they're successfully registered. It'll send off a confirmation email. So these emails are very customizable. Basically, throughout, you can create email templates for usage throughout the entire platform, not just in the bot. And in this case, we're basically just sending them like direct links to the event when it's ready to go. A calendar, like attachments they can add to the calendar. Sometimes we'll put in like links to past events in there, and basically it just streamlines the process of giving registrants the information that they need. And it can.
Hey, Tanner, I want to take a second with what you've kind of just encapsulate what you've explained here. So with those conditional branching, right, what Tanner just covered here, and the importance of that is that we're identifying who are in those segments, make sure they get that personal approach. If they've already attended a summit in the past and we have their email, we're not going to ask for it again. We're just going to verify, hey, thanks for wanting to register, confirming this is still your email. They say yes or no, and they feel, okay, this is more of a personal approach. They already know me. I've already filled out this information. They don't have to do it again. And that is, again, with the idea of we want to give, right? We want to make this feel like a seamless process. We want to be smart about how we're getting people to the summit, making it smooth for them. And that's what all of this is about. Now, with those emails that Tanner just talked about too, for our process and how we feel that we make our registration more seamless, we put our email send at the end here. When they register, that way an email automatically goes out and says, hey, thanks for signing up. Here's your information, and so forth. Now you can put that email node anywhere you want along that workflow. So in case they don't complete a registration, they just put in their name and then they get distracted, or they lose connection or what have you. You can have an email node there in case, in a condition, if they don't complete the registration, they'll get an email saying, hey, I saw that you almost signed up for this event. Or if we have their email, then here's the link to complete your registration, or it was incomplete when you did it. Those are just ways that you can make it all about improving the experience, providing that value, and that's when folks are going to want to be able to, you're going to hit all those whys, right? Becoming that industry leader, being able to share the information, provide that value. Okay, thanks, Tanner.
Yeah, and that's a good point to note. You can really put these emails anywhere. It kind of reminds me of like, sometimes I'll be like, there have been times where I've been like buying something online and I add it to my cart, and then I get an email saying like, oh, do you want to finish your purchase? And it's probably worked on me once or twice. It just helps, you've already identified intent, probably further up. So if you want to, you can send out, not necessarily confirmation emails, but like reminders to finish your registration, stuff like that. So yeah, good input there. So the last thing I want to go through here is, basically after they've registered, what do you want to do next? Okay. And the way we've always done it is we have had a more like high intent action after this and a more low intent. So the low intent one is every event we basically conduct like a benchmark study that we release following the event, kind of as like a post-event offer, a marketing offer. And we have people take surveys. So basically like after they register, they can go in and take a survey, about 2 to 3 minutes. But basically the way we have it set up, and I won't go into the detail of all these conditional branchings, is based on certain criteria of our ideal customer and where these people are coming from. If they don't fit that, we don't want to book a meeting with them. We want to take them to the survey. But if they are high intent, that are, and they're in the demographic or the ICP that we are trying to sell to or are interested in, then we can drop them a calendar drop and be like, hey, let's talk about ChatFunnels. This chat, it really relates to this event, or even just like setting up a strategy call to help prepare for the event. So basically, based on these different conditional branchings, we can, I guess, better predict what they'd want to do, because we don't want to book meetings with every single person that comes through. We don't want to waste, we're not trying to spam people with meeting invites or anything. We don't want to waste people's time. We don't want to waste our time. So if we, know that there's a high probability that they wouldn't be interested or they wouldn't fit our criteria, then we're going to send them somewhere. We're going to send them somewhere else. And in this case, that's the survey. And the last thing I'll go through about this is, let's say they come through and, they're an ideal customer. They fit your ideal customer profile. And you drop a calendar drop, like an invite, right? A lot of the times, you don't know exactly what the messaging should be. I'm not very good at messaging. That's not my strength. So a lot of the times, you don't know what works best. And actually in ChatFunnels, what's kind of unique about our conversational marketing tools are we actually are able to A/B test specific bot nodes. So, if we have this calendar invite here, we can A/B test what like the call to action is or the messaging is. And iteratively just like keep improving conversion rates and stuff like that. So like, let's say we start a test, we want like a more aggressive ask and a less aggressive ask. We can see which one works better. ChatFunnels you have the option for it to automatically update the bot with the better performing one, and then you can keep iteratively creating new tests. And obviously there still has to be some good content in there, but rather than just like qualitatively and kind of just like on a whim deciding which one's better, we can actually come in here and test those things. And actually, a few events ago, we ran about 5 or 6 tests in a row, and we got our meeting booked rate from about 5% to 18% over the course of like a month. And I mean, this time
Yeah.
frame obviously depends on how many, like sample size and how long it takes you to get to significance. But yeah, it's a super useful tool. So I
And
get
Tanner,
all,
what you're saying
yeah.
there too is like we always want to be running a split test, always. Like
Yeah.
we've had a
I
couple
mean,
of times where we've gone like a day or two without it, and we're like, oh shoot, we don't have a test going. Like you always, if it's not the call to action, maybe it's the content, maybe it's the value, maybe it's some other information, but there's always something to be testing and optimizing to improve the experience when they're going through.
yeah, I mean, yeah, unless you're like dead set on a call to action, it's almost always favorable to just test because you don't know. I mean, the one previously could have been better, but you don't know for sure. And you could be sacrificing ones going to the better one, but you probably don't have any data to back that up. So yeah, that's a good point. Having one always running is typically a good practice. So.
Awesome.
And then lastly, just a few different ways. This is all pre-registration stuff, but we also use the bot and in these account-based engagement tools during the event for like navigation purposes and FAQ.
Mhm.
And like if someone's like watching one of the presentations, near the end of the presentation, we might fire a bot that says, "Hey, you might want to watch these other ones based on the one you've watched." And it basically serves as good navigation. So there's a few different ways we use it during the event, but I won't cover that right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for your time. We do have a couple of questions coming in, so we want to make sure to hit those really quickly before we wrap up.
Okay.
I have somebody asking, how often do you A/B test during registration, and how early do you start that? So we talked a little bit about how often, and that's pretty much, pretty much always we want to be testing. But how early do you start that process? And I think Pete, you kind of answered that a little bit with saying you waited a couple of days and then started it. But do you guys have any other best practices around that?
Yeah, we try to start it as early as possible in the registration process. It kind of depends how often we make new ones, depends on how much traffic we're getting. Cause if we have to reach statistical significance, and obviously it depends, if one's vastly better than the other, it's going to take less time to get there. But it kind of just depends. I mean, the more traffic, the more data, the better in that case, because, ideally you could be running tests, infinitely, but it kind of just depends on kind of your traffic and how often you can get those tests to be statistically significant. So.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say and add to that with the test is not only are you testing for quantity of saying, hey, how much more am I as the company getting out of it, but you also are really testing for value. How much better or how better can I improve the experience of the registrant or the website visitor, right? So those two factors you want to be testing.
Awesome. So another person, Angela, thank you for the question. This is based around, what do you do for retargeting afterwards?
Yeah, I can that real quick here. So you saw a little bit of that retargeting that I showed initially, saying, "Hey, I came back onto the page and I'd already registered." Now, the reason we can do that is what you showed earlier, Sterling, is our platform how it's built out. We identify and then we segment, and that segmentation is kind of the figurative baskets, right? They can go from one segmentation to another, and saying, "Hey, is this a persona that matches our ICP? Is it their first time to the website? Then they're going to be in this segment and get this approach. So first time registering to the summit, they're going to get a different experience than somebody who's registered for 2 or 3 of our past summits and they've come back again. We're going to give them a little bit more warmer of a greeting. We're going to show them what we've done in the past. Maybe we'll offer them some of the studies that we did from the last summit if they didn't catch it, and then get them quickly registered by just confirming their information, and they can update anything as needed. 2 completely different experiences based on behaviors and retargeting efforts.
Awesome. Another question that we have from Amber on this one is, how do emails work inside the bot? As in customization, I'm assuming, and so forth. So Tanner, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, the idea of it is pretty basic. I mean, we just use, like I said, I mean, there's the actual node within the bot that tells it when to fire. But as far as what the emails contains, you basically just use a template that you've created that can be used across the whole ChatFunnels platform. And within that template, there's pretty basic things like merge fields, which basically you can just input like contact attributes in the email, like personalize the name and stuff like that. You can add most types of attachments, like PDFs and stuff. And like the way we use it, like you can insert like an ICS file, which is like a calendar file, so they can add it. Like when we send our confirmation emails, we send an ICS file like, hey, add it to your calendar so you don't forget. So you basically just open the ICS file and add it to your calendar. And also we can we can have like banner images and stuff in there. So like for our event, we have like a banner image over above the text, and that's customizable, which image you want there. And you can also customize if you're sending from different domains or IP addresses. You can specify at the template level which sender that's coming from. So
yeah, one thing I'm going to add to what Tanner said is also based on their behaviors and who they are, you can also segment it out by their tags, by how they got to the bot, so that they are getting different emails. Maybe it's the same intent, but different variation throughout that workflow. So again, it makes it very automated with customization, as much as you can get it in there based on who they are and what they've done.
Yeah, and a little bit of a shout out for tags there too. Nice plug for that. Tags are so important, and I think sometimes they get forgotten about because they can help these marketing guys and analysts afterwards really find out what their intent is there. So a great plug for that. Thank you, Pete. Last question, then we'll wrap up. Is what happens? And just so you know, this is from James. What happens if someone doesn't complete the registration? What do you do?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. I'm sure Tanner will have some to add to that. But in our flows, somebody doesn't complete their registration. Let's just say they give us their name. I'll give two quick examples. We don't know who they are, but we know what organization they came from. With our workflow and with our runner we can then proactively invite either the key personas of that organization to register for the summit proactively. So that's just like, hey, we see that this might be a good fit. Let's go ahead and add those key players automatically who we know that would be interested in this. It's personalized, and invite them to register for the summit, right? So that's one. Two is if they have provided their email, we know who they are, and they haven't completed registration, then they simply gets routed within that workflow to say, hey, again, automatically saying they did not complete these steps because they didn't get this far into the workflow. Therefore, an automatic email will be generated and sent out saying, hey, you didn't complete your registration. Click here to finish.
Yeah, I'll add to that real quickly. So something that we don't currently have implemented, but people's kind of talking about, is you can even, like if they only put in a little bit of information, obviously you'll still need like an email, but if they at least give you their email, we can send an email higher up in the flow saying like, hey, you didn't finish registering. Or even if you don't want to do that, we can throw a tag in there, and the tag name could be like incomplete registration. And then you can go through in the reports or just the filters in the chat history. You can go and look at people, and that's more of a manual approach, but go and look at people who didn't finish registering.
Great. Well, hey guys, I really appreciate your time and effort in getting things ready for us and putting some of this masterclass together for us. We really appreciate your time. To close out, wanted to say thank you for everybody for attending the ChatFunnels Masterclass today. Just before we finish, we have created a very similar bot inside of our templates for you. So you can actually go in and should be able to use those to get your next event scheduled and started and running. We can also help with that, getting those things set up and making sure that you're using them correctly. If you have questions, concerns, please reach out to us. And we want to make sure that your next event is the absolute best and easiest for everyone to get running and flowing. So thank you for your time, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks. Bye.